Thank you all for your testimony. I have a consumer protection background, so I've been deeply concerned about the implementation of the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program and the temporary Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, and have been incredibly concerned about this being an empty promise to borrowers like Ms. Finlaw. Last Friday, I had a roundtable discussion to hear from Oregonians who have been affected by this. A lot of people showed up. What I heard, stress, uncertainty, and a feeling like these borrowers had upheld their share of the bargain. They told me about putting off getting married, putting off home ownership, putting off starting families, all because of the burden of student debt. And they spoke about their passion for public service. One of the borrowers, Sawyer, served in the military. She found out after paying her loans for 8 years, they told her she was in the wrong repayment plan. She had to start all over again on her 120 payments. There's a PhD psychologist who works at the federal prison. She loves her job. It's really hard. She's incredibly stressed because of the amount of debt she has from getting a PhD. Her payments are not even affecting the principal, so it's getting, the debt is getting larger and larger, and the story she's hearing, she's really concerned about that. Other participants, some were told that they needed to consolidate their loans to participate, and others said they didn't qualify because they consolidated their loans. Many lost years worth of payments like you did Ms. Finlaw. One of the borrowers, Susan, said she and her husband tried for a year to get confirmation that their payments were qualified. One borrower, a teacher, had her loans forgiven under the temporary Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. I think she's one of 24 in the entire state, one of the 1% nationally. And she told her story. She said she had to fight tooth and nail. She said she doesn't have any kids. She used all of her spare time. She worked with my office. She worked with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which I might note would not be particularly helpful at this period of time because President Trump recently appointed a FIA executive as the top student loan official at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. She worked with the ombudsman at the Department of Education. She painfully detailed, as you recommended, Ms. Finlaw, every interaction she had about her loans. It took a tremendous amount of time and patience. This is certainly not what Congress intended when Congress passed the original program or the temporary program. I'm really grateful for all of them, all the people who shared their stories in Oregon, and Ms. Finlaw as a big supporter of arts education. Thank you for your important work. I'm going to ask you a question, but first I want to ask Ms. Shavit, is there any information you can share about how FIA got this very lucrative contract to administer the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program?
The information that I know is basic information. I'm sure that there's more detailed information available, but there was a process by which servicers competed to get the exclusive contract to manage this program. And I'll note that any complexity in this program was known at the time, and FIA represented, in order to get this contract, that it would be able to do its job and administer it. So, I think that's a critical piece of this, right? The representations made are that FIA is up to the task. That was the position I'm sure that they took in order to get that contract.
Thank you. And Ms. Finlaw, you've heard this morning that the FIA is not represented here today, even though they were invited and decided not to come. What would you have said to FIA and what would you like to tell the Department of Education about your experience? What would you say to them directly?
I think that it's interesting that if my principal called me into his office today and I just said, nah, I'm not going to show up, it would mean my job. And yet there's an empty seat next to me. And I'm someone that this organization deeply affected. And I don't get to look anybody in the eye. And that, he has to sleep at night. And all of the people that are going to hide behind legislation have to sleep at night. I sleep really well at night. My moral compass is strong. And I will be in school tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., greeting my kids at the door. And no one's going to take that from me. And I would go back and do it all again for the right to stand there every day. And I just wonder what he would have to say to me, what he would have to answer to me to say, hey, you didn't jump through every hoop. We know we told you. We told you did. But game's up, like you didn't follow every rule, like you got to the end and oops. Like, can you really look at me and say that? He's not here to do it.
Thank you so much for your work, for your passion, and for representing, I know, many others who are in the same or similar situation across the country.
Thank you.
Madam Chair. I yield
Thank you.
back.
Mr.